Good day. Welcome to my channel, which is Social UX POV, hosted by myself, Susan Coach. That's in UX Coach. And we are here today to take a look at the UX branding aspect of the UX experience, which can be divided into 8 major categories. Oh, yeah, and I'm coming from sunny Alberta, based in Blackfoot territory, and today I'm up on my high horse about a particular blog put out by Harvard Business Review, Harvard Business Review, which focuses on branding. So this is a snow day down here in southern Alberta. So I decided it's time to get started on Social UX POV, point of view, and dissect a particular blog under the examination of social UX and branding. So UX branding. So UX is a very large field. Basically, we can imagine it like a flower. So if we take a look, let's just say this is the center vertical of the flower. At the top, we have marketing. So this falls under UX. At the bottom, we have data. Slightly to the left is branding. So we've got our marketing, we've got our data. Over here, we've got some branding going on. Visual design, actually, and usability. Make a cross here. So usability is my elbow, visual design are my fingertips. Up here we've got marketing, down here we have data. Branding sits over here, slightly left of center. Then we've got customer service sitting over on this diagonal, customer service, and on the bottom of that is accessibility, customer service accessibility. And over here, under the bottom of branding, we have information architecture. So information architecture, down here is the foundation, perhaps, of branding if you want to make alignments. So yeah, branding, marketing, customer service, usability, information architecture, data, accessibility, visual design, and back to branding. So today we're going to focus on the branding. If you can visualize all that, these are different areas that I will be talking about in the future. For some reason, this channel will be initiated on the branding, because I saw a blog which just said, that's it, it's time to get started, time to discuss UX branding. So this particular, actually, and I forgot to say one thing, so that's 8 aspects of this particular flower, or lines which could be made into a flower, which will be my logo shape. We're missing number 9, social. So again, in many theories of UX, they overlook the social. That's why this channel is called Social UX POV, because social is actually the hidden ground. Social is the context. So there's no room in that configuration for social, so let's just say social is all around it. Yeah, so today we're going to take a look again at this particular blog that comes from Harvard Review, which was posted, let's see, the posting on that was February the 7th, 2018. So it's hot off the press and significant. The title is "The Most Successful Brands Focus on Users, Not Buyers." So there we have the word users. This is a clue that we're talking about the user experience. The argument, of course, is that in the digital space, we're all users. Some people think that it may be a negative thing, as in people who are addicted to things are typically users, but of course, we are addicted to technology in the sense that it stimulates, it's an extension of us, which is media theory, and This particular article is written by Mark Bonchek and Vivant Babette. So I'm just trying to find out who these two guys are, what their background is. So I went to Google them, and Mark came up in LinkedIn. He is the Chief Epiphany Officer at Shift Thinking. And he's on the Singularity University faculty. So some big concepts in that title, and in that the university, clearly this is not your average university or title. Epiphany, of course. I think this particular blog is an epiphany. And his partner in crime, we're looking at Vivant Babette. So I'm just going to do a quick Google and see where he comes up. Because again, the whole thing about being social is you want to find out more about who it is that's writing these. Do your research. Social UX is all about research. I'm going to find out where they're coming from. What is the source and where their experience is? Because again, if you look at the whole big picture of US, it's massive. So he is the Senior VP President Global Head of Marketing at, where is he located? He's SAP it says, Harvard Business School. So yeah, he's at SAP. So there's his credentials. So this is clearly two very influential individuals. One kind of more on the new age, and one still in the digital realm, but more established. So let's take a look at this article and dissect it. First of all, they start off by asking, what makes the question opener, what makes a brand successful in the digital age? And clearly looks like SAP and Shift Thinking and another group did a joint study to try to determine what that particular thing is, the $1 million question. If you could figure it out, you make the million, and so on. And you make your users happy, which is ultimately what we want in the user experience space. So basically, of course, we've already known this, that the reason they are successful is they don't just do things differently, they think differently. So yeah, thinking is a big part of the user experience. In fact, those people who don't want to think probably would like to leave this video at this point, because you know what, it's overwhelming. But that's the challenge, right? Is to wrap your head around the flips, the refocuses, the shifts, the paradigm shifts that the user experience realm, which we've talked about at the beginning, the 9 different aspects of that are creating in this world. So they did this study. They found that the distinct differences between the legacy traditional brands and the newcomer digital brands was that with the legacy brands, most people rated them higher in the statement. It's a brand that people will want to look up to. So, that's a classic traditional, place you want to be. You want to be respected. You want to be admired, yada, yada. But with the newcomer brands, the disruptors, the digitals, the disturbers, their rating was, it makes my life easier. So there we go. User experience versus some sort of ego thing. For example, they compare Airbnb versus the Hilton, Dollar Shave versus Gillette, Red Bull versus Coca-Cola, Venmo versus Amex, and of course Tesla versus BMW. So didn't Tesla just ace it? I mean, Rocket Man in his Tesla right now out in space, miles above this Blackfoot territory in southern Alberta, indefinitely floating through space forever with that awesome user experience that we all watched. I watched on replay. But so there are the differences about people's perceptions, because there is two types of clusters, they're calling it, categories, as in the popular or the purchase brands versus the usage brands. So again, the key word, we look at the taxonomy here, usage versus per purchase. Okay, so again, we've got the standard versus what I call traditional versus the user experience, the mass media versus the user. So the purchase brands, now they focus on creating a demand to buy the product, and the user, and while the user usage brands focus on a demand for the use of the product. So there is a distinction. Purchase brands emphasize promotion. So basically, they are constantly promoting, I'm the best, we're the best, whereas your user brands emphasize advocacy. So again, we get into the social realm. We're advocates, we're activists, we're expressing, we're advocating something, we're educating. So purchase brands, again, they worry about what they say to their customers, whereas the users worry about what the customers say to each other. Again, we're in the social realm. Okay, purchase brands try to shape what people think about the brand. So, all of this stuff about advertising, manipulation, and all the negative stuff about advertising, the studies and, the Mad Men and all that stuff, versus the usage brands, which talk about how people experience that brand at every single touch point. So, we all know about the Apple Genius bar at the Apple store. They took away the checkout and they replaced it with a Genius bar, and you can buy right there on the floor. And now, of course, is it Amazon? Yeah, Amazon food. They took away you can go in and buy anything, put anything in your cart and leave. So there, get user experience, the usage. So the simple view, of course, most people are going to say, let's just categorize this quickly and put all the traditional brands, lump them all in with purchase. But, there are exceptions, because we look at Visa and FedEx and Lego and Costco. This is what they say in their article. Basically exhibit characteristics of user experience or usage brands. I don't know why they just call them UX brands, but anyhow, UX branding. So they suspect the nature of these products, culture, will lead to a more of a usage mentality, user experience mentality again. So typically, with the purchase brands, they had these moments of truth. I think there's a book about the moments of truth, as they focus on what happens before. Everything's before the transaction, with the research and shopping and the buying of the product. Whereas the usage brands focus on what happens after the transaction, the delivery, the service, the education, and or the sharing back into the social realm, right? Social UX POV. So the benefits of shifting from one to the other, from purchase to usage, is reinforced, of course, because there's some good numbers. On average, people who go with the usage brands are more willing to pay a 7% premium and are 8% less likely to switch. So you've got your loyalty, you've got your value, perceived value, and they're twice as much more likely to make a recommendation on their social media to their friends. So basically, they're saying that, let's adopt the user usage mindset and create a closer relationship between the marketing and product development, which, of course, product, as you remember, marketing is one of the aspects that falls under the user experience, as well as product development, which you could basically put into the accessibility category, and marketing. So because the brand and the experience are increasingly going to become one and the same. So Singularity University, thank you. We see that Mark is at the Singularity. So I mean, we're moving closer to, well, as far as I'm concerned, the whole world is UX. Everything can be seen through the lens of UX POV. Yes, anyhow, that is old news. An old hat, old news. Yeah, there you go. Brand yourself. Okay, that's what I'm working on. Zero knowledge of anything that came before this particular day. Says to us that there has been this significant shift, according to Harvard Business Review, these gentlemen in their blog, so that the way, of course, that typically brands look at their equity is, they look at their annual ratings about, who's the top firm, and they measure it, again, we go back to the investors. What it's worth to the investors is more important than what it's worth to the consumers, because there we are, they're, traditional versus the user experience of the consumer or the actual user. So again, the focus is more on how people perceive the brand on the traditional side as opposed to how they experience the brand. Thank you. Social UX POV, hashtag UXBranding. Companies are too focused on winning ratings. Well, hey, that's big news. So they do close sort of up by saying that actually the survey shows that this user or usage mindset is even more relevant for B2B brands than it is for B2C brands, because businesses have business B2B has a longer life cycle than customer products, and so therefore they have greater opportunity to build value outside the sales funnel, the upfront. And of course, B2Bs are all moving towards cloud-based services with membership and subscription-based business models. So to sum up, basically, I wanted to just give you an example, real life example. Imagine this scenario. So let's say, I'm hired by an agency, a digital agency, a small one, and they want me to be their project manager. So the first thing is I need a tool. I'm not going to manage on a piece of paper. There are digital tools. We're a digital agency. So I do a bunch of research. I find the best, what I think is the best functionality, for the best price, with my client's constraints on budget, etc. His greatest needs, which, let's just say they're time tracking, they are collaboration, they are the ability to, put the budget in, the ability to engage with clients. So, these are let's say there's the four major functionalities it has to have. So I do all this research. This is what user experience UX specialists would do. Or in the business world, it would be called competitive analysis. Either way, we come up with a proposed solution as to which one would be the best, presented to the client and say, hey, let's try XYZ. This looks like the best one for the best solution. So we, install, get it going, start the account, start using it. And then let's say the client comes back the next day and says, wow, my clients can see the breakdown of priorities on their particular project. I don't like that. Okay, so what's wrong with that scenario? What's wrong with that scenario is a mindset that goes back to the purchase. So he stopped at the buy. Okay, I have a sales background. We used to say, the old sales dogs taught me, the real sales starts after you close the deal. Okay, that's when you're selling them on the customer experience. Let's call it the user experience, how you handle after you get the money on the table, because we all know, we've all been there. They get your money and then it's like, hasta la vista, baby. They could care less about delivering. So the customer experience and shifting from in this particular scenario. So this client comes back to me, let's say, just in this scenario, this fake scenario, the client comes back to me and says, I don't want my clients seeing the priorities that are based around this project. That's too transparent. And I'd be like, wow, why would that be too transparent? You're engaging them, right? They're collaborating with the team. They're seeing, the steps. They're part of the process. This is what user experience is about, right? Not only that, from a business perspective, you're managing their expectations really well because you're on top of it, and you're not like, we got your deal, we're working on it. The email that says we're working on it, it's not done yet, we'll let you know when it's done, and they're like in limbo. So if you fast forward that to completing the project and presenting it, could you imagine that along the way, because they use this particular software tool and it was allowing them to collaborate and engage in the process, there probably wouldn't be many revisions or changes or shock at what they got, because they were involved in it all along the way. So that's just, a simple case study or case example that I can imagine. So yeah, that's it. Social UX POV. This is Susan Coach coming from Blackfoot territory, up on my high horse. Wishing you a great day. Lots of sunshine. It is a snow day down here. Enjoy. Thank you. Bye.